guys, I hope everyone's well. It's Jason here again. Last week, this Jet City 50 watt came in for some mod work, and I did a video where I put it up against my slow 50 build, and look, it was pretty obvious in that clip, and the comments confirmed it, right, that the Jet City sounded pretty thin, a bit raspy, a bit ratty compared to my slow 50. So I spent the week, a few hours on the bench with this thing, taking it, in a new direction. It's more of a kind of Marshall vibe now. So this thing has been modded to effectively kind of move towards the Doug Aldrich mod that John Sir had made to his JMP Marshall. So this is kind of, as I said, more of a hot rodded Marshall direction now than the slow, which the Jet City is based on. A variable depth has been added to the rear of the amp, giving that kind of nice bottom end. And it's like a kind of, you can think of the Doug Aldrich mod like a JCM800, but with an extra gain stage. Now, it's not an extra gain stage in front, it's an extra gain stage kind of in the middle, so to speak, right, of the amp. So it's got that kind of Marshall heritage, but with that extra gain stage through the middle of the preamp, to really give it that that extra drive. So you heard me playing the tones that I'm getting out of this amp now at the beginning of the clip. I'm really happy where this has ended up. This is George's amp, and it's now ready for him to pick up. But not one of the amps that I'm pretty keen to hang on to. Actually, I might have to get one of my own to mod. I will post the schematic, right? So my mods, what I've done to this amp, I'll post them in this clip, the second half of the clip, and I'll try to talk through, the stock amp and the mods, and what they do to the kind of the sound, and hopefully that's informative for the people that are watching this channel, because they're keen to learn about tube amps, or are contemplating maybe modding their own, or using one of our project PCBs perhaps to build one from scratch, right? And we've got a range of options that you can grab and get hold of and start building with. But yeah, look, this one's came out pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it. I'll catch you later, guys. This is the stock circuit for the Jet City 50, right? You can find this on the internet. It's not hard to find, right? And obviously I use this as a guide for the mods that I did, but I'm just going to focus on the overdrive channel, right? I did actually mod the normal channel or the crunch channel as well. I didn't record that in the clip. Obviously your guitar signal comes in here, right? Input. These are your preamp tubes, V1, V2, V3, V4. There's 2 triodes per 12AX7, if you're not familiar with that, right? So each one of these triodes, which is an anode, the grid, which is where the signal comes in, and the cathode, which always goes to the ground of the amp, that's a gain stage, right? So we'll just quickly trace through where your guitar signal goes when you select through the overdrive channel, right? So it comes in here, goes through this first gain stage, right? Up here, through this coupling cap. This is a capacitor. And along this wire here, and you can see that it actually feeds the crunch channel or the normal channel, and it also connects through and goes, this is now the overdrive gain. This is the gain pot for the overdrive channel, right? So, okay, guitar in, through the first gain stage, you adjust the gain, right, with your overdrive gain pot, and then into the second gain stage for the overdrive, okay? Up here, through this coupling cap, and back around and into the third gain stage, right? And this is the famous 39K cold clipper. So if you've done any research on a Soldano amp, you read about this 39K cathode, right? Which basically sets up asymmetric clipping, and it gives it the Soldano that really kind of coarsely grainy kind of overdrive sound, right? This is the thing that, you know, really gives it that secret sauce. That's the Soldano tone right there. There's other things obviously, but the 39K cathode there is a key feature. Okay, so we're through the third gain stage here. Now we're traveling up through this this anode of the gain stage. Through here, this is a relay here that just switches between the crunch channel and the overdrive channel. Right, this whole thing here is setting up, this whole V3 is setting up the tube buffered effects loop, which, like the original Soldano loop, is before the tone stack, which is kind of, you know, unusual, very unique to the slow. So out through the effects loop, send, through the effects loop, return. This is recovery stage. And here's our good old cathode follower gain stage here that sets up the signal to go through the tone stack. So treble pot, bass pot, and middle. This is all pretty standard Soldano here. And then into the master volume for the overdrive channel, out to the phase inverter and into the power amp. Okay, now this is the schematic for the mods. All right, so this is the finished amp that I just demoed in this clip. Now, I haven't done a full kind of bill of materials and DIY guide, you know, for these mods yet. But if there's enough interest in that, please post your comments in the comment section for this video. Look, if there's enough interest in the community out there for me to go through, you know, step by step, showing photos of the component changes and do a bill of materials like I did for the Origin 20 mod, I'm happy to do it, right? But I don't want to do it if there's, you know, not that much interest. So let me know, right? And I'll do it. So let's just step through this quickly. I'm just focused on the changes, right? So everything marked up in orange. I'm not going to go through them all, but I just want to kind of highlight what some of the changes are here. So across these are capacitors, right? 120 picofarad, 470 picofarad, change this one here. These are all sitting across, you know, what are called plate resistors on the gain stages. And what these basically do, right, is control the top end of the amp. So remember we said, you know, I said that the top end, the high end, the treble in this stock amp is pretty harsh, right? Pretty, you know, but not very pleasant. This is helping to kind of keep that at bay as the signal goes through the gain stages, right? So this is a pretty common technique that's used. You just put these, they're called plate snubbers. Put them in place across the amp there. I've changed the kind of the cathode setup on the first gain stage here. This is classic Marshall, right? You know, 2K7 with a 68 microfarad bypass cap. I'm using electrolytic capacitors here for the bypass. This is a 22 nanofarad first coupling cap in the stock amp. It's too bassy, right? You've heard me talk about this before if you follow the channel. A very common technique in more modern high gain amps is to cut a lot of bass out of the preamp and then bring the bottom end back into the amp via a depth circuit in the power amp, right? If you have too much bass going through the preamp, particularly in a high gain amp with multiple gain stages, it can get very woolly and undefined and a bit mushy, right? So this is now 1/10 of the value as per the stock amp, which, as I said, is 22 nanofarad here in the stock amp. So this is 2.2 nanofarads. So your audio signal, your guitar signal, passes through here, through the overdrive gain pot. I've increased this to 1 nanofarad bright cap. So you're just more aggressive, you get more top end coming through. 10K cathode here, right? This is classic Marshall 2203, 2204 cold clipper second gain stage, right? 10K cathode, very, very common. And then we come through here, just like in the stock amp, back into the third gain stage for the overdrive channel. And again, a 10K cathode, right? So it's like double cold clipper, right? So like 2 lots of JCM800 here. Although you will notice that this 10K is also got a partially bypass, so 330 nanofarad cap I'm using here with a 2K7 resistor, right? So it's just it is increasing the gain and you're getting the bypass effect here, but this resistor here is limiting the impact of this 330 nanofarad bypass cap. Again, this is, not the values are not identical, but I've taken some inspiration here for sure from the Doug Aldrich mod from John Suhr. Back out of here, this coupling cap here was a 22 nanofarad. I ended up knocking it down to 4.7. It's just too much bass in this preamp, and I just had to chop it down again. Keep it nice and tight. 220K resistor here inserted to just attenuate the signal through a voltage divider here. The 220K and the 470 is a voltage divider which attenuates the signal before it hits this gain stage here and in through the loop. And a few changes to the tone stack. This is 33K slope resistor here is classic standard Marshall. This is a bit smaller value here, just kind of, again, keeping the top end of the amp, the high end treble a bit under control. And that's it in the preamp, and it looks like quite a few changes, but it's actually not that many, right? There's, what have we got here? Less than 10 component changes. And unlike the Origin mod where you've got actually rewiring the signal path in the amp to complete the mod that I did for the Origin, this is not like that. We're keeping the signal flow the same, just changing component values and adding a few extra bits. And finally, this is the depth pot that's added to the rear of the amp, right? So what's going on here? This is kind of, what we're looking at here is this is the phase inverter tube of the amp. So from the preamp into the phase inverter, and the phase inverter splits the signal and it feeds each of the power tubes, right? So these are 6 L6 power tubes. There's one. Here's the other, 50 watt amp, right? This is the output transformer right here, and it is feeding the speakers. So what we got here, coming off the 4 ohm tap of the output transformer, is negative feedback. So negative feedback line comes in, goes straight across, and feeds back into the phase inverter. You see this a lot, right? This is, stock standard guitar tube amp. So what I've done, this negative feedback only has a present circuit, right, in the stock amp. So I've added a depth. This is what this is. This is a 1 meg linear pot, which I drilled through the rear of the chassis to insert. And I've got a 10 nanofarad cap sitting across it. So this is pretty high value, which means that you've got a lower center frequency for the depth. So just really kind of going for that real, almost sub bottom end. Quite common to see, a 4.7 nanofarad here in a depth, variable depth circuit. A lot of the Friedman amps will have 4.7 here. So yeah, just went all the way here with the 10. But because I chopped out quite a lot of bottom end through the preamp, the 10 nanofarad here works. I think it sounds great through a 4x12. Anyway, guys, as I said, if there's enough interest in this mod for a Jet City, I'm happy to do a follow-on video where I kind of do more of a step-by-step guide of how to actually solder in the components and go through photos that I've taken of the mods. Anyway, guys, cheers, and I'll see you next time.